spinning works perfectly only when all the elements of it are settled down. You never shoot randomly in the air hoping that the cans will fall. Finally, start doing it with the basic step, super slowly. And then what happens? They play the music and they say, oh, the main difference between super cool dancers and not super cool dancers is in the level of tension. An image of an action always comes before an action itself. We think that we make notes to remember something, but we actually make notes to forget something. Hello, my dear guys. My name is Svetlana. I'm a salsa mentor, dancer, teacher, psychologist, and also dance teachers coach. I've been dancing for more than 15 years, and more than 8 years I've been teaching teachers. And I decided to create this podcast to make your salsa way more joyful, full of wins and happiness, whereas I know that many dancers have a lot of frustrations on their way. So I want you to learn faster, and I want you to get as fast as possible to the top beloved dancers list. This episode I decided to dedicate to psychological tricks that will help you to, again, learn faster and obtain the information faster, and also to memorize better and for longer time. There will be 7 tricks that I will be talking about. Some of them I was repeating already in other episodes, but they are so important, so I will never stop repeating them, because if you use them, they will really contribute a lot to your great salsa life. Trick number 1, use your speech. As a psychologist, I can 100% assure you that we use our speech always when we think and when we act. And when you learn salsa, you have so many tasks to do. So of course, your brain needs inner speech to help you to focus your attention on specific things. But unfortunately, you probably have noticed that many salsa classes are formed in a way so that teacher speaks all the time, and nobody accepts what the teacher speaks unless somebody wants to make a joke or something like this. Dancers learn quietly, and this is not the best in a psychological perspective thing to learn, because when you speak, you focus your attention on specific things, and when you learn under this focus, you actually learn faster. Remember yourself last time when you were packing stuff in a rush before your travel somewhere. You remember that if you don't have enough time, but you have a lot of things to concentrate on, you start subconsciously, you don't even notice it sometimes, but you start helping yourself with a speech. You say, passport I took, my charger I took, the phone I took, where are the tickets? You start speaking, because speaking directs your attention. And when you learn, it works exactly the same way. You might think, and it will be in most of the cases true, that you will look a little like a weirdo when you will speak to yourself while learning salsa. But believe me, after a while, you will improve faster, and people start coming to you and ask you, why do you improve that fast? You can use speech in a few ways. First of all, you can help yourself to mark the key points of the techniques that you learn. For example, if you need to learn coordination, basic coordination, weight transition, you have many key points to focus on. You have to have your weight over the balls of your feet. Then you have to push the hip bone forward when you transit the weight. You have to make sure that when you rotate the hip, it takes the ribs together. So the hip and the ribs rotate together back. The ribs take the shoulder blade takes the shoulder, and also the elbow balances the shoulder movement and goes to the opposite side. If you start doing all these things quietly, then your brain will be most likely lost within all those commands. But if you start focusing your attention on the things that you're checking up, for example, hip bones forward, you push it, you control it. Then rotate the rib, rotate the hip, make sure that I'm contracted. This will direct your attention, and you will succeed faster. I love it very much when my students, while sending me the video of them training, always say, Svetlana, hello, now I'm working on the following things. I keep the contraction when I spin, I try to think of the focus, and I try to think of sliding. And I know exactly, we both know exactly what is going on, and that helps a lot. The second thing that you can use your speech for is to name figures when you learn routine or choreos. Simply name them. Round, Suzy, Q, kick, and stuff like this. It will help you to just memorize the order. Also, you can use the auditory keys. It's called auditory keys. Basically, you name the figures or the things that you want to focus your attention on with random sounds like pam, pam, king, chakatam. If you have noticed, many Cubans do these things a lot. They actually very rarely explain things. They normally just mark them with the auditory keys. But if you do it consciously, for example, if you not only put the sound key for a specific movement, but you encode in this sound specific tension of your body or specific position of your body or specific thing that you want to think about, then those kind of auditory keys will contain more information and will help you more in memorizing the order of the figures and also in memorizing how to execute the figures themselves as well. So use both names of the figures and also the auditory keys. Also, you can simply count. If you're too lazy to encode the information or you feel too shy, you can simply count together with your teacher, because this is the most simple way to encode the figures and to encode the tempo. How do you execute the routine? Counting will structure and settle down the tempo of the routine that you learn very fast. And the last thing that you can use your speech for is to sing. When you need to be musical, the best advice that I ever gave to my students is sing. In the best case, you learn the lyrics of the songs that you're trying to show. For example, Cora Pregones, you learn the lyrics and then you step in every syllable singing, because singing in this case, first of all, is just nice. And secondly, it will help you to mark the time when you have to make a move. And also it will give you the chance to get a feedback. So for example, if you sing a syllable, but you don't find yourself doing a move in this time, then you will simply understand that something went wrong and you have to repeat the exercise. Overall, the speech is super important. Try not to underestimate it, because even though maybe you don't have the habit to help yourself with speech, but as you start using the speech, even whispering at your class, you will see that it will make the process of learning easier, because speech will simply help you to focus on specific points and memorize them better. Trick number 2, act from the comfort zone. To demonstrate it, I want to make an example for spinning technique, because as much as all the other techniques in salsa, when you do spinning, you have to think of how many things at the same time. And also, it makes it more difficult, because when you start spinning, it's pretty much like when you learn salto, for example. As you're in the air, you actually cannot control much, and you just have to cope with what you have, deal with what you have. And the same when you spin. You can prepare for spinning with full attention, but when you start spinning, most of the times our body gets nervous and we cannot control much. So that's what makes spinning even more difficult. And what do I see many people do? They just try to spin many times in a row. Maybe, yes, thinking about different things, but they get quickly frustrated, because spinning works perfectly only when all the elements of it are settled down. When you have good sliding, when you have good axis, when you have good contraction, when you have good spotting, and when the impulse goes to the right direction, then you have a perfect spin. If one of those things doesn't work, then most likely you will fall. And that's what makes the process of learning spin very frustrating, because people think that balance is the thing. They try to look for the balance, but you don't have to look for the balance. You have to look for the right building up, for the correct building up the techniques. Let's put it this way. And the crucial exercise for spinning is sliding, because when you slide, you most likely will spin. If you take a huge impulse, it's not guaranteed that you will spin good, because you actually stand on one leg and your foot is touching the floor. And this is the place where actually that is crucial for spinning. So when your foot will slide, then most likely you will turn. But if you take a huge impulse, but your foot doesn't slide, then you most likely will fall. That's why spinning, the sliding exercise, I find it fundamental for spinning. And I always ask my students to train in the following way. So they make a step forward and then they just do 180 degrees, sliding in the same direction. So if you make a step forward with the left leg, you just push your foot forward and you do 180 degrees turn to the left side. And then you repeat the same with the right leg. This sliding exercise helps you to realize that your foot is active, helps you to feel more stable and balanced when you slide, and helps you to control the speed. In the best case, sliding exercise has to be super fast. So imagine you train the sliding exercise a lot, and this is now your comfort zone. You feel that you're good at sliding. Yes, you can do 180 degrees, sliding, super stable, super fast, and super confident. And then you start doing 360 degrees, and of course you start falling. And what do most of people do? They just continue doing 360 and they continue being frustrated instead of always coming back to 180. So imagine you did 360 a couple of times, you feel that something went wrong, then you come back to 180 sliding, you feel, yes, I still can do this. The hope is still there, You do 180 degree sliding, and then after a few tries, you do 360. Yes, maybe it didn't work again. You come back again to the comfort zone, 180 degrees, and then again 360. Because like this, you show your brain how it sequentially has to work. So you say, man, you did 180 degrees, and then like with exactly the same technique, you have to do 360. And this is what you do. And then again, you did 360, now it's your comfort zone. Then you add new things on top. And if it doesn't work, you always come back to the comfort zone, because this will help you in two things. First of all, it will help your brain to understand how do you need to improve, which step is the next. And secondly, it will contribute a lot to your self-esteem, because you easily will come back to the things that you already know, showing yourself, yes, I know I can do this. And whenever you stop your training, you still know that now this is my level. I can do 180 degree sliding very well. I couldn't do it a week ago. Now I can. Great job. You have things to praise yourself for, and this is always great. Trick number 3, add one factor on top. I clearly already said this trick in a previous episode, but I want to repeat it again and again because I still keep seeing students do these mistakes. Try to always understand what exactly is your task right now. Imagine yourself being at a lady styling or men styling class, learning the routine. Unfortunately, in many, many classes, teachers mix all the things together. They say, we learn the routine, but at the same time, they break down the techniques of specific moves, and they also add some grooves, and they also add some details. And at the end, they ask you to be emotional, to be sexy here, to be a little more dramatic there. And there are so many tasks that many students simply just cannot cope with. And in this, especially in this situation, it's super important for you to understand where exactly are you and what exactly is your task right now. Are you learning the routine? Or are you working on specific technique of a specific move? Try to focus on one task, and as you made it, you add only one thing on top. For example, you learn the routine, and your main task now is to just learn the sequence of the movement. The whole group has already done the routine, and they already, working on the techniques of specific moves or nailing the details, but you know that you just have to memorize the routine because it's not yet settled in your head. You just focus on it. Go to the corner, just repeat it as many times as needed, or if you have good communication with your teacher, then ask your teacher to repeat the routine a few times. Normally, the whole group will agree with you that it needs more repetitions. Focus on one thing, and then you feel like, okay, it seems like I have the routine. Then let me work on the following thing, just one thing. Let me work on coordination, for example. I try to add the coordination in all the figures that I know. Or I try to add emotions, for example. Why not? You know the sequence of steps? You can try to add the emotions. This is one factor that you add on top, and you clearly understand, okay, I did the task A. Now I'm doing the task B. And then when I'm fine with that, I will do the task C, and etc. And again, it helps you to, first of all, focus on one thing and be more successful with that. And secondly, it will save your self-esteem. When you shoot, you only aim to one can, right? You never shoot randomly in the air, hoping that the cans will fall. No, you only aim to one can, and when it's on the ground, you feel success, and then you continue shooting, aiming to the next can. Exactly the same principle it's better to follow, let's say, when you're at the class. Because at the class, in most of the cases, the information is absolutely mixed. All the layers of learning are absolutely mixed, and it's super important for you to understand by yourself where you are and what is your next task. Trick number 4. Speed up naturally. This is the phrase that I repeat so many times recently, just because I keep seeing my students just jumping over this stage and again, getting frustrated. Imagine yourself last time when you learn some new physical activity. For example, cycling or, you did the rope garden, for example, ice skating maybe. You always start doing it very slowly, right? Because, again, you have so many things to focus on. Let us take the ice skating. You go on ice. You feel that it's super slippery. You feel that you have two blades touching, you don't even have your feet on the floor. It's super, everything is super fragile. Your balance is very fragile. You have to move. You only found the balance, just standing on the ice, and then you have to move somehow. And of course, entire body is tensed, and you start moving super slowly because you're trying to understand what actually is happening right now. How do you have to push from the ice? How do you have to slide? How can you stop in the worst case if something happens? What happens with your body? How do you balance the movement and everything? Your body is now working like hell because it tries to catch the process, the routine, catch what you need to do with it. And then you slide for, 10 minutes. And then remember, I bet that you clearly have this moment in mind. You already did a few tries, and then you feel like, okay, I feel a little bit more confident with that. I can maybe slide a little bit faster. And you start skating a little bit faster. You don't start rushing like hell or running because you know that if something happens, you inevitably will fall or you will kill somebody. Or if you're cycling, for example, you will end up at the next tree or something happens because you know that you cannot control it very well. But for some reason, when people dance salsa and then just do basic salsa coordination very slowly, coordinating hell many things, weight transition, booty squeezed, and then the ribs are following the hips, and then the arms are balancing the movement to the opposite direction. So many things slowly happening at the same time, and they finally start doing it with the basic step, super, super slowly. And then what happens? They play the music and they say, oh, Svetlana, with the music it doesn't work. Or they go to the party and they're like, Svetlana, oh, your technique doesn't work at the party because you didn't speed up naturally. This word naturally is super important. I could also say speed up gradually, but I want you to feel that your body allows you to speed up, that your working memory gets more free, and now you can slowly, again, keyword, slowly, naturally speed up. This is the best way because as you start doing it naturally, you will feel that speed actually comes very fast. As I already mentioned, speed is the factor that is the easiest to gain because we speed up normally very fast. We just have to be patient during this process to speed up naturally. The trick number 5, relax. It might sound a little bit weird, but it's super important. If you pay attention, then the main difference between super cool dancers and not super cool dancers is in the level of tension. In super advanced dancer's body, the tension is collected in specific areas, and it's very high. Legs are super strong, feet are super strong, core is super strong, lats and back is super strong. But this super strong tension allows other parts of the body to relax. The arms are super light, shoulders are never tensed, neck, head are super relaxed. Core, sometimes when there's some swinging moves, it's also relaxed. Whereas when you see the improver, you can see that the tension in their body is spread evenly throughout the whole body. Legs are so tensed as much as the shoulders, they are a little bit tensed, arms are a little bit tensed. And this is absolutely normal because when you start, again, remember yourself doing ice skating. When you go on ice, you are hell tense. Everything is tensed because your body tries to survive. Your body feels threat. When you dance salsa, your body maybe doesn't try to survive, but still pretty much stress. That's why, of course, it's normal that your body gets tensed. And some dancers, they understand after a while, when they start to execute movements better and better, for example, with the basic step, they understand that now I can relax. But some dancers, unfortunately, don't even get this idea in their head. Relax. After a while, when you execute the movement or when you do the choreo, try to ask yourself in which places I can actually relax and exchange. Basically, relaxation is not the relaxation by itself. This is an exchange. The tension is somewhere for sure. It has to be somewhere in your body. But the question is whether you distribute it evenly in your body or whether you collect it in specific areas. So after training a specific move for a while, ask yourself, can I relax specific parts of my body like neck, face, maybe arms, and collect the tension more in my legs, in my core, in my booty, or in other places? Also try to breathe. It will help you to see which parts of your body have to be relaxed. And in general, thinking about relaxation will help you to go on the next level of learning your move. Trick number 6, train in your head. Maybe you have heard of Ideomotor training. This is the way of training when you actually execute moves in your head and don't do them physically. Ideomotor training based on the fact that an image of an action always comes before an action itself. For example, if you talk to musicians who make improvisation, for example, conguero plays improvisational congas, you will also see him, for example, singing what he's trying to hit. He's accompany his hits with singing. But also, if you talk to them, you will hear that they say, every time when I improvise, I first hear what I want to play and then I play it. And this is how our brain works. We always have an image of something and then this something comes. The same works with dancing. You maybe also had this when you just started to learn salsa, or maybe you're now on this stage. Many people told me that when they start learning salsa, they dance when they fall asleep. I mean, before they fall asleep. So they lie in bed, in the evening, they close their eyes, and then they start dancing in the head. Especially guys, when they learn new routines, like new partner work moves, they start to do different moves with their arms, like here and there, and try to turn imaginary partner and figure out whether this grip works or not. This is a perfect thing that, your brain naturally already pushes you into this direction of ideomotor training because it knows that it's very effective. Try to use it all the time. Before you go or while you're going to your training, for example, I don't know, you sit in the subway, you have 10 minutes free, close your eyes and just imagine the techniques that you have to obtain. For example, how does your body coordinate? Or imagine the routine that you're learning now, the choreo or the partner work move. Imagine it and try to dance. They say that in the beginning, it may be difficult for some people to imagine yourself like you are, feeling the information from your bones and muscles and skin and everything. It's easier in the beginning maybe to imagine yourself, seeing yourself from outside, but this is just the first stage. You can look at yourself from outside, do the choreo or do the techniques, and then try to switch it from like the first perspective view and feel the feelings. Because when you realize that information that comes from your bones and muscles and everything within your body, it will help you to feel the movement better. And therefore, you will learn the movement faster and your technique will be more clean. When you do ideomotor training, it's not obligatory to do it for a long time. It's actually enough to do 3 or 5 repetitions. So it has to be very quick. But it will contribute a lot into your learning process. So don't forget, and every time and even, for example, I don't know, when you're at the class and you're so tired, but there are no guys, for example, you cannot dance partner work, just close your eyes and imagine yourself dancing this routine by yourself. It will help you a lot. Just this. Without dancing, standing, imagining, it already helps. Try it out. And the last trick for today, repeat after the class and record yourself after the class. I was very surprised when I read a book. I don't remember what book was that, but I remember that the speech was about making notes. And the guy said, we think that we make notes to remember something, but we actually make notes to forget something because we want to just get rid of this information, not to keep it active in our head because our brain wants to relax, wants to delegate the tasks as much as possible. That's why I understand very much Super Mario, who doesn't allow to record the routines after the lesson, and he never shows it. Actually, he does show it. It's interesting because I see it a lot on YouTube, but I remember that during the class, he always says, you cannot record videos at the class. I remember him saying many times that he hates it, and I understand why. Because it makes people lazy. People know that there are videos of the routines in their phone, and that relaxes them, and they think, okay, I can come back to this anytime. And of course, your brain got rid of the information, and of course, your brain will forget. The best thing that you can do for yourself after the class is not to record your teacher, but to record yourself doing the routine from the class. First of all, it will help you in the future to see your progress. And secondly, it will help you to memorize the routine better because the 60% of information you will forget in the first hour. But if you repeat right after a class, it will be already less. So record yourself. And thirdly, when you will watch yourself doing a move after a while, even if it will be like after half a year, you will remember the figure better because you remember how you moved. It's not you see somebody moving, but you remember how you did it. And it will help you to memorize eventually the figure better. So always record yourself after the class. Take it as a habit. It will help you a lot. And also, if you want to remember the figures or the material from the class for a long time, keep this short list of when do you have to repeat the movement. First of all, right after the class. Then, in the best case, they say 30 minutes, but normally I guess you cannot repeat it during your way home. So it might be, 30 minutes or an hour when you get home. After the class, when you get home, you repeat. Then you repeat after 1 day. Then you repeat after 2 weeks. And then after 2 months. Like this routine or this move will stay with you forever, really for many, many, many years. If you don't repeat it like this, then by the next week, probably only 20% of information will be kept in your head. It's not very, very positive information, right? So try to repeat even, by the way, if you repeat it in your head before going to sleep, it will be already great because this is pretty much the same for your brain. When you dance it like this and when you just repeat it in your head, in your brain, the trace is the same. So do it anyhow. Just try to repeat it if you really want to memorize it. Okay, I will shortly go through the whole list so that you have all the 7 tricks settled down in your head. Trick number 1, use your speech. Always talk to yourself. Help yourself to focus the attention on the specific things that you need. Second, act from the comfort zone. Try to always use the skills that you already have to build up something new. Trick number 3, add only one factor on top. Try to always understand where you are and which layer you're building up. And when you have it, add only one brick on top to make sure that you can cope with it, and then you'll be more positive and your training will be simply more effective. Trick number 4, speed up naturally. Always try to be patient with obtaining new choreos and new techniques. Try to speed up only when your body tells you, now, man, we can speed up. And remember that speed is the easiest factor to gain. Trick number 5, relax. After a while of repeating movement, try to exhale, breathe deeply, and try to feel which parts of your body can you relax and which parts of your body can you tense more in order to give your movement more stability, more power, more contrast, or whatever you need. Trick number 6, train in your head. Know that the Ideomotor training is really working. Always use it when you have spare 5 or 6 minutes and before going to bed. If something is very crucial for you, repeat it in your head. It will have exactly the same effect like if you were repeating it in your classroom. And the last thing, repeat after the class and record yourself after the class because it will help you to memorize the figures for a longer time. The main trick, guys, I want to share with you, and you know it for sure, but I know that many people forget about it. Salsa is your passion. Salsa is your hobby. Salsa is the thing that inspires you, is the thing that you love. So always keep in mind that whatever you do has to be fun. You have to like it. Don't try to force yourself doing stuff because it never ends up very well. I will talk about this in the next episode. Please don't miss it. If you have any comments, please feel free to write them under this podcast. If you want to ask me any questions, feel free to find me on Instagram, Svetlana_Ray. Feel free to ask me there. You also will get more information on my Instagram, especially the information about my new projects. And have fun with the training, guys. I did it.